Hello and welcome back to another episode of Walking Christ Podcast, show where we inspire the masses to become financially free while building God's kingdom. I'm your host, Dami, and on this podcast today we have Mr. Ashon Bennett. Mr. Ashon Bennett is a 19-year-old option trader who teaches other millennials how to trade and make money in the stock market. In this podcast, we're going to discuss Mr. Ashon Bennett's journey so far as an entrepreneur. So thank you for being here, Mr. Ashon Bennett.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm blessed as always. Just glad to see another day. Glad to be able to, wake up, trade, and just live this new life now. I like it.
That's good. That's good. Definitely again talking that. So what inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
What inspired me was actually something that actually happened in my life. It was when I was 17, and I had a situation with a friend, and that basically caused me to feel betrayed, feel a little bit upset, and then that kind of caused me to start focusing on myself and focus on entrepreneurship. And that's when I kind of shifted from focusing on having friends and making sure that everybody's all good to making sure that I'm good. And then that's when that shift happened. I started focusing on entrepreneurship, and then it just made everything so much better because that at that point I started focusing on myself and not focusing on everybody else's problems, and that was kind of weighing me down. So that's kind of how I got started into entrepreneurship. That's what caused it.
Okay, no problem. So I know you said you had a situation with a friend. Was entrepreneurship something that you always desired to do, or because of that situation or that conflict made you like, oh, entrepreneurship it could be a route for me?
It was something that I used to do. Like for example, I was when I was in school, I used to sell candy and food and snacks and stuff like that in school because my parents didn't like they didn't really give me snacks that I wanted. So what I did was I saved up some money and I basically bought stuff, sold it, then bought stuff, sold it, and then that was my way of getting myself snacks that I wanted and also selling and make money from it too. So that's kind of how I got into entrepreneurship at a smaller level. And then after that situation, it kind of caused me to say, it can be bigger than this. It could be bigger than, what I've done before. So that's when I started to lock in and start focusing on it.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad we share something in common because I also started selling candy while in high school. While in high school, just to make some, just have some change in my own, just to do that. And I'm glad we have that. So, you did that, you see that entrepreneurship is where you want to go. I can just imagine, as a 19-year-old, conversations happen with your parents that,
Mm.
you should go to college. So how did that conversation go, and what was your conclusion to not go to college?
Yeah. So my parents, they were kind of, so I have a mom, stepdad, and then my dad. So my mom and my stepdad, they were kind of like, you should go to college, you should do this. And they were willing to literally pay 3,000 a month just to send me to college. Like they were really dedicated to me going to college and supporting me doing that. And I was just like, I'm not really feeling it because the main point of college is to go there, get an education, and then take whatever you get from there and transfer that over into what you're going to do the rest of your life. And nothing that I saw in college could help me do that. Like, because I wanted to do entrepreneurship, I wanted to create a business. Nobody in college was going to be able to help me create that because the whole point of college is literally to get you in. The whole point of high school, I learned, is to get you. It's to waste more of your time because back in the day in high school didn't exist, and then they created high school basically to keep kids kind of in school. That way, adults could get jobs, and that was just to waste more of their time. That's why we haven't really used algebra or calculus and stuff like that in the rest of our lives, in our daily lives, because it's not really that important unless we have a career in that field. And then college is meant to get you in debt. And I knew that what I could learn there and the amount of debt that I would incur wouldn't be sufficient and it just wouldn't make sense. So from that point, I kind of talked to my parents and said, I don't think this would be smart for me to get into entrepreneurship. I don't think it's really smart for me to not get into entrepreneurship, go to college. I didn't think it was smart because why would I spend that much money to learn how to be a business owner from somebody that's not a business owner? It just didn't make any sense. So that at that point, I was just like, all right, I don't think college is going to be for me. And then it was a tough conversation, but we concluded that I don't really want to do it. So I had to figure out another way. to get into entrepreneurship outside of college.
That's well said. And I could just only imagine that conversation had to like you showing that you can, basically take care of yourself, I'm sure your parents, you say parents will be upfront to pay you $3,000 to go to college. So how did you, show them like, okay, I'm gonna take this journey, but I can do my own thing, and not have you guys worry or stressed out. Because oftentimes people do get into the entrepreneurship journey, and just like we may know, it's not always a rise straight up. There's different turmoil, different challenges that you have to overcome in order for you to get to the top. So how did that conversation go, and helping them understand that you know you could make money from this. This is a process and all that stuff.
Yeah. So that was interesting because I feel like even with entrepreneurship, it's never just the straight line up. It's always going to be rocky. It's always going to be ups and downs. And I knew that, but I knew
Hmm.
that in the end, there would be some level of success that would be greater than if I were to go to college. So I was kind of in a place where it was like, okay, this is my plan. This is what I want to do. And then I just had to know more than them. So for example, I just had to have information and show them that okay, you could do this. But then again, that didn't really work because again, they're not entrepreneurs. They can't really fathom or see different things of how that works. So they weren't really optimistic about it because they didn't think it was smart because that's not what they went through. But it made sense in my head. So I was like, okay, this is what I want to do, and I'm willing to accept the possible downsides or possible things that I got to deal with this path, and I was okay with that because I mean I'm 18, I was 17, 18 at the time. Life is going to be risky anyway, so why would I take that being secure? Because security doesn't breed success. I learned that
Yeah.
too. Security only breeds contempt. Security only breeds um scared or timid. That's all it breeds. It doesn't really breed journey. It doesn't really breed adventure. It doesn't That's not what it's for. And that's what these years of my life are going to be for. It's for adventure, but it's also to build. So I knew that I could do that if I wasn't in a secure environment where it's like I have to play within the rules. I typically don't like playing in the rules anyway. Cause like literally if they ask me, they'll literally ask me to do something and I'll try to find another way of doing it, getting it done, but without doing it the way they told me. So like for example, they'll tell me go iron clothes, like iron all my uniform clothes for the week, right? I'll be
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna get this done, but I'm not gonna do it the way you told me. I put them all in the dryer, and I'll put it on firm press. Take them out. All of them, the wrinkles will be gone. I'll hang them up, and then I'll be done. All I gotta do is put them in the dryer, take them out, hang them up, and I'm done. I didn't have, but they was like, no, you gotta iron it. I'm like, why? Why do I gotta iron it? And I could just do this. It's simpler. One, it's faster, and their wrinkles are way better out. Like I'm not really that good at it, so it's like it does better job. So why? I'm always like trying to find another way because I know there is. So that's kind of like the path I had anyway. So when it came to college, it was a no brainer to just try to find something else that worked better, and I happen to be right.
That's well said. And that well said. I definitely want to go into, because you're 19, and just like with anybody, you all face some type of peer pressure. And like you
Yeah.
said, you had to kind of separate yourself from your friends to focus on you. So what was that like? I'm sure you probably lost a lot of friends, because everybody's looking at things different from you are. So what was that journey like, or that phase like for you?
I learned that so I learned this. Real friends, if you try to cut them off, they'll still try to find a way to get in your life. Like they'll still try to find a way to still be there for you. And when
Hmm.
I had about 18 friends, 17, like a whole bunch of different people from my school. So it was like friends as in like I was cool with them. Like we would talk and something like that. It was just cool. But
Yeah.
I cut all those people off because they weren't helping me grow. They weren't helping me, get to the level that I wanted to be. And I cut those people off. There was only three people, three people that remained after that. It was my childhood friend and two of my friends that I had from that was in my grade and then a grade lower than me that we were cool. And then eventually the two people from my school that I was friends with, cool with, talked to a little bit, even while I was doing entrepreneurship. Um, I had to like that caused a situation too where it was like I had to let them go and I had to move on. And I was like, dang, now I'm down to nobody. So I was like, that now I just gotta and it's and that's another thing too. Like everybody's like, dang, I don't want to be lonely. Or I don't want to be like you have to be lonely sometimes. There's sometimes you have to be by yourself because again, if you're surrounded by people all the time, that means you're influenced by people all the time. If
Mm,
I'm around myself, I can be influenced myself. So if I end up, so that's another thing I learned too. If I can influence myself to do the right thing, then I don't need to be doing entrepreneurship or anything like that anyway because I'll fail. If I'm
mm,
not disciplined, if I'm not consistent, if I'm not willing to make those sacrifices, I can't be an entrepreneur because a boss or a business owner has to make those executive decisions. They can't be influenced by other people. It's their business. It's their creation. It's their journey. So they have to be able to make those decisions. If I can't do this at 17 with friends that I'm gonna lose anyway if they're not on the right path, then what the heck am I going to do when I have people I'm paying? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. So it's like, all right, I got to be willing to take this, and it sucked. Like I mean, it. I didn't go to parties that much. As soon as I went to Atlanta, had to make new friends. I had so now what I did was since didn't have friends, I had plenty of time to search for new ones. So what I did was I was on YouTube, Instagram, um, and I was just looking up like young entrepreneurs. So 18-year-old entrepreneurs, 17, 16, 15, 20, all these different types of entrepreneurs basically at a young age because I didn't really see any. I started searching them up and I started going through their podcasts, seeing what they interviews they did, seeing their videos, who they're working with, who they're friends with, who they're mentors with. And I just started doing market research and I just started DMing those people, being friends with them, meeting them at events. And then now I have a new set of friends and they're all like making 5, 6, 7 figures now. They all have their own businesses. They're all either traders. I have a few friends that have like 820 credit scores. I have a few friends that are like um they're doing 6 figures in their clothing brand, and we're all like 20 or under. Maybe like I think the oldest one maybe is 24, but everybody else is like 24 to 16 years old and 15 years old. Like now I have a whole group of friends now, but we're all trying to grow. Everybody's talking about how can we get to the next level? How can we build? How can we grow? That's what I want to do to be surrounded by, and now I have it. So I replaced those 20 friends pretty well. I have to say.
that is well said. And I guess one thing I definitely want to talk about is the mindset. So you spoke about being lonely. Like oftentimes the reason why people don't start into business, don't even start investing because they never want to stand out. They didn't want
Yeah.
to be what's it called, the black sheep, basically.
Mm.
And that could be difficult. And it takes a certain mindset to say, I'm going to do it regardless. If I can, like you said, if you can't motivate yourself now in the beginning of your journey, when you do have, people you have to pay, where you do have bigger tasks, bigger challenges, and people looking up to you, you can't run to anybody. You must be able to step up. So what was that journey from that mindset shift? Like, if you could talk more about that mindset part.
Yeah, so the mindset part of somebody that has to have a black sheep mentality is you have to be willing to be different. You have to be okay with being different. If you're not okay with being different, then you're not going to be good as an entrepreneur. You're just not because if you got it. So, for example, if I want to be creative, first off, that's another thing too. Business owners and investors and entrepreneurs, like that category of people, typically fall between the 1% and 10% of people in the world. Typically, in terms of like making 8 figures, 9 figures, $1 billion in their businesses, etc. Like those fall in the 1%, 10%, right? So the 1% and 10%, that's a minority. That's a small group of people, meaning that at the top of a pyramid, there's a million bricks at the bottom, but there's one brick at the top. So if you're not okay with being the one brick at the top and you're not willing to be seen or not willing to take long to actually get to that point, because it's easy to be at the bottom layer. It's easy to be at the first layer of things. It's easy. Like you're going to be one of the first ones, but it's going to take time and energy and consistency and structure and like time to actually get to the top. And that's why pyramids are always built from the ground up. But at the
Mm.
same time, the top is still the last one that comes into place, but it's still the highest one. And most people don't want to take that much time. Either they don't want to be seen, either they don't want to put in the work, either they don't want to be looked at as different, or they're not willing to not conform. I feel like the biggest problem with people when it comes to being cowardice or scared, it's not about like how they look at things, it's about not willing to stand out. So like conformity. So I don't look at I look at cowardice as conformity because everybody, especially in school, like you've been in, I'm pretty sure you've been in
Yeah.
school. Like if you've been in high school, like everybody is most likely trying to do what everybody's doing. If somebody just goes up and just looks up in the sky, then someone else is gonna look behind like, whoa, what are you looking at, bro? And they're gonna look up too. And then you got everybody looking up at nothing. People are really willing to make sure that they don't look like they're dumb by doing what everybody else is doing. Whether it's wrong,
Mm.
whether it's right, whether it's indifferent, they don't care as long as other people are doing it. So if other people are cheating in school, they're going to cheat in school. If other people are not really doing their assignments and stuff, they're not going to do their assignments. If somebody's doing good in school or if they're getting good grades and they're getting certain rewards, everybody's going to try to do it because it's a conformity thing. My biggest thing was I never really fit in to the crowd. I wasn't really good at, making friends with certain people. I wasn't really good at that. That wasn't my thing. I used to be like, I'm not even gonna lie. I used to be annoying. I used to be irritating. I used to just not get friends with people. It just wasn't my thing. So
Yeah.
being different was okay. Well, it wasn't okay. I didn't like it, but I'm used to it. So I'm
Yeah.
like, why not keep doing it? Why not be, but in a positive way? Because I was different
Yeah.
in a negative way. So now I'm like, all right, cool. I'm used to being different. Now I just got to be different in a positive way. Now I got to and I keep dreaming about it too. I'm like, imagine if, because most people try to base you off your past and not base you off your future. So I'm trying to look at it like, okay, they know me for X, Y, and Z. So if they see me on TV, on a podcast, on a show, or they see how my business is doing, then it's gonna be like, wow, he was here and now I'm here. I don't want to. I don't. That's all I really wanted. I'm just like, I just really wanted to be somewhere completely different and make a whole bunch of change because most people think I couldn't. Because most people think that I can't really do things, and I love proving them wrong. That's my favorite thing to do. You're like, you're bad at this. You're bad at this video game. Oh, really? Bet. See me on the game. Bet. I got you. We're gonna chop this up. That's how I used to be. Or my parents like, oh, you can't do it this way. I'm like, I'm gonna do it that way anyway. Like, I just always went against the grain because it's just like, why do I have to conform? Why do I have to be like everybody else? And I'm
Yeah.
acting like the wrong group. I'm acting like the 100% instead of the 1%. That doesn't even make sense. Look, I want to be at the top. I want to have me and my girl on the ocean front inside of our pool and stuff like that. And we don't got to worry about we don't have to worry about how much money came in this month because we already know it's taking care of our family, our kids, our lifestyle, like everything. Like that's what I want to get to. And again, I can't get to that point by being a part of the 99%. In my
Now
eyes, I
that's
just can't do it.
now that's well said. That is definitely well said. And that leads me to my next question. You say you started reaching out, started, doing YouTube search there. How did you go about networking with these different young entrepreneurs? Like you said, it's not something that is just there. It's something you have to look for. You have to get into these rooms. So how did you go about networking with these different young entrepreneurs?
I made sure I did a few things. So another thing I learned too, so when I found a young entrepreneur, I was like, oh my gosh, a friend. Like that's the kind of, because in business and entrepreneurship, you don't really see young entrepreneurs. You see older people, you see millennials, you see, 30-year-old, 40-year-olds, 50-year. You don't really see entrepreneurs with a one in front of their age. Like typically it's just not seen. So whenever you find one, it's like, oh my God, we're about to be best friends. It's like if you go to like an event or a gathering and it's a whole bunch of adults, but there's one person that's your age, you're gonna stick with that person for the
Yeah.
whole entire thing. So when I find them, typically if we're at the same point where we're trying to build, but we're also like on the same level, where it's not like he's doing 8 figures and I'm like still just starting. if we're on like a similar level, like I'm at 5, he's at 6, or he's at 4 and I'm at 5 or something like that, we're around the same point. It's like, bet we need to lock in with each other. We need to figure out how we can help each other. We need to figure out how we can do, because it's like we're used to hanging around people that weren't really thinking like we are. So when you find somebody that is, it's almost like finding your true love. But like I just did it
Mm,
so many times now, because it's like there's so many entrepreneurs that think like me, but they're around my age. They're far though. They're stretched out. It's like recruiting like Power Rangers or something like that. They're just all over the place. It's just in different places. Like I have a few in California, some of them are in Florida, some of them are in Georgia, some are in Tennessee, some of them St. Louis, not Las Vegas, Baltimore. Like we're all over the place. We're scattered, but so this actually, I'm planning on doing this too, because I met them over the course of like a year. And
mm-hmm.
the way I go about, so I'll tell you about how the way I go about looking them up. So I looked them up, like I said, I'll search up like this entrepreneur, this age entrepreneur, and I'll find one. And when I find one, here's what I do. I know that person has friends and
Yeah,
mentors.
that's
So
true.
whoever his friends is, because he's an entrepreneur now. So in order for him to actually be a good entrepreneur, he has to be surrounded by good people or other entrepreneurs. So I'm like, okay, who are his friends? So I follow him. I look through his following and see or I watch his stories and see, okay, who is he reposting? Who is he doing
Mm-hmm.
business with? Who is he working with right now? Who is his family that he's doing business with, right? I'm following those
Mm-hmm.
people now. And now I know those people also got friends too. Those people got friends that they're business partners with too. And then once I start seeing like a decrease in like how much they're working, like how much they're actually getting into the field, then I'll stop. And then I'll start looking for their mentors. Like, who are you learning from? Like, because you got to this point from learning from somebody. So who are you learning from? Okay, you learn from this person, this person, this person. I follow those people. Now, those people that he's being mentored by, guess what they have? Friends, and they got mentors. So now I look for their friends. So if they're doing 7, 8 figures, they got friends that's also doing 7, 8 figures. I follow those people. And then I found out who their mentors are, because they have to be mentored by somebody too, because they can't be a good mentor unless they have a mentor. And it's just a
Mm,
streamlined process where I just get this collection of people that are just mentors or friends of people that are either friends with me or mentors to me. So now I just have a network of people. So now it's like I literally am following people who do so many different things. It's ridiculous. People that do cleaning businesses, affiliate marketing, e-commerce, clothing brands, credits, like credit repair, credit restoration, Airbnb, real estate. But like it's so many different options trading, forex trading, crypto invest. Like there's so many different things now, because I'm now surrounded by a whole collection, a network of people now. So now it's easy to find events now. So if somebody like, oh, I'm having an event this time, now I'm following that person. I'm like, all right, cool. He's having that this date. All right, cool. This is how much it is. Cool. I'm going to that event. Now it's just easy because I built that collection of people. So that's kind
mm.
of how I go about doing it.
That's definitely well said. How did you get started as an option trader?
Yeah, so I got started as I was on YouTube just looking at different things I could do, and I found wholesaling real estate, e-commerce, and affiliate marketing, a whole bunch of different things. And I tried to test them out and see what would fit me. Because the way I was looking at entrepreneurship, I was looking at it as a list of pros and cons. So like there's good and there's bad. And it's a matter of, am I willing to take the bad or willing to fix that bad so that I could be good? And then I just started going through everything. With e-commerce, it was okay. Pros are I could definitely scale it up. It can be more passive, but the con would be marketing, and I wasn't really that good at it. So I had to learn a whole new skill set to be able to apply it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna move on for now. And then eventually, I just found options. So options basically allows me to just use any type of money that I have, a small amount of money, and then I can grow it by just understanding how much prices increase or decrease of stocks, because options is basically trading stocks.
Hmm.
Stocks. You want me to explain what stocks are?
Yeah, you can explain what stocks are.
Yeah. So stocks are basically, if you know, like Apple and Amazon and Tesla, like those are different businesses, and
Hmm.
you can take part ownership in those businesses. those are called shares. So if you buy a shares of a stock, so Apple stock is, let's say, 160, right? If it's
Mm-hmm.
160, I can buy it for 160, and if it increases in value by, let's say, $1 to 161, I can buy it for 160, sell it for 161, make $1 profit. I just traded a stock because I bought and sold it. With options, I'm basically temporarily taking ownership of 100 shares of whatever company. So Apple, for example. So if I bought the stock, I'm buying it and taking complete ownership of it, and then I can choose to sell it later for $1 profit, $2 profit, whatever it goes up to. But with options, I'm temporarily taking ownership of it. So I'm temporarily taking ownership of 100 shares. So now instead of buying one stock for 160, I'm buying 100 shares for 160. So that equals 16,000. But again, I'm not completely taking ownership. I'm temporarily taking ownership of it. So since I temporarily take ownership of it, now I have a certain time limit basically to say, okay, if it goes up or down, I make money or I lose money. So for example, let's say I bet on it going up $1, right? If I buy $16,000 worth, which is $160 times 100 shares temporarily for, let's say, a day, right? And it goes up $1. I don't make $1. I make $100 because it's 100 shares and each share went up $1. So now I make $100 on that. And I only spent maybe $200. I might have probably spent $200 to take ownership of $16,000 worth of Apple shares. And that's basically how options work. It allows you to basically put call it a down payment on a large amount of shares of a specific company for a temporary amount of time. I just put a down payment down of like 100, 200, 300, and I take ownership of $15,000, $16,000 worth. And now I can control that for a certain amount of time.
That's well said. That's well said. And I definitely wanted to get more deep into it. So, for those who may not understand options, so you basically, like you definitely explained. So, I guess my first question is, with options, you first need to have money. That's
Yeah.
the that's the important part. And you're saying that, do you currently work? Let me ask that first. Before.
No, I don't. I actually currently don't work.
Okay, so that's great. So, how can someone who is not, who's a student in college or could just be coming out of high school, start trading options and not have any type of income? Like, what are some resources that you use to build capital, which allow you to get started trading?
So I started with $500. I started on Christmas. I got $500 for Christmas. I just took that $500 and I just said, okay, bet we're gonna use this for options. I put into my option trading account. I turned it into 2,000 in about 2 weeks, and then I was like, bet we about to go. We about to take this farther. We about to go crazy. And I kind of started like, you don't really have to have like a large amount. I still recommend having. I recommend having 500 to maybe like a couple hundred to about 1,000 maybe, like just to start out. And then from there you could just build it up gradually, because it's not about necessarily like how much you need to make, because you can make money with, like, I could put $100 in my account and make money with it. I could just find smaller stocks or smaller options contracts that I can buy and then build it up like that. I have a friend, she started with $26 in her account, and she just bought like very small, like this, because again, Apple's like 160, but there's some companies that's like $10 or $11, and then they have their options contracts are extremely small or cheap, so she can buy those and then build that up from there. And now she's at like 5, 6 figures now in hers, because she gradually built it up from that point. So if you're in college, just you could easily, like, you could literally get, like, for example, you could get snacks and sell those in school and stuff like that, or you could just find like a side hustle or something like that. So like, for example, if you're a girl, you do hair, or you're a guy, you do hair. Literally just cut some hair, do some hair, braid some hair. Let's say it's $100 to do hair. Cool, you do 5 people's hair for $100. And now you got $500. Now you can start putting it into your trading account and do that. And now, first off, you can turn that into a whole business too, because you're literally doing hair now and making a lot of money from that. So you can literally do, let's say, 10 hairs a week, and you can make $1,000. And now you can take that 1,000 and put that into your trading account and then trade that up. Now, even if you trade and you're practicing and stuff like that and you lose that money, you can literally just do 10 more hairs and then keep doing it and learning. So now, because I've actually tried a challenge where I took 1,000 and turned it to 10,000 in about a month and a half, about a month and like 5 or 4 days or something like that. And it was from the 1,000 to 10,000. I didn't add or take any money out. I literally just let that 1,000 compound into 10,000, and I try to go for 10% a day. That was it. And then from that point, it turned into 10,000. So literally, you just need like a small amount, and you just have to know how to do it. So if you're actually really dedicated to actually learning the skill set, you'll be fine. So that's what I recommend for anybody. So if you're in college, just leverage, because again, you're on campus with like 5,000 to 30, 40, 50,000 people. So leverage those people. Those people have needs. Those people need stuff. So if they need something, provide them a solution. So if they need, for example, if they need, let's say there's you know a website, or you have a way of getting them books for cheap. You can and you know a website basically. Don't tell them the website. Be like, hey, I can get you these books for cheaper, but you pay me this much and you can get this much. Now, let's say you charge them. Let's say there's a $200 book they want to get, right? And you tell them you can get it to them for 50, but they only got to pay you $50 to get it. Now, you can literally buy the book for $50, keep the other $50 for because you bought it from a website or something like that cheaper. You give it to them and you make $50 of profit. You can do that for how many kids? Like 10,000 kids who need your help getting, because they don't want to pay that much for books. They could pay $100, half of what they were going to pay anyway, to get a book from you or learn how to do it. Sign me up. I'm buying that. Now you got, let's say $50 for, let's say 10% of 10,000 people. You just go around every day to the dorms, to the classrooms, to everything, and you just meet 10,000 people, and let's say 1,000 of them get it. So now you got 1,000 people paying you, let's say for one book, they're paying you $50. That's $50,000 right there, off of just helping them get a book that they need the book. They need the book for class, and you're just getting it to them for cheap, and you're just providing a service to them, and they're paying you $50 minimum. So if there's a $300, $400, $500 book, $600 book, then you can increase the price, but still keep it cheaper than whatever they're paying for the book. That's a solution for them. And now you just made $50,000. You made a yearly salary in God knows how much time, like a couple months or something like that, or a couple weeks. Like, it's just thinking like that can help you actually get to that like level where you actually have a whole bunch of money to use. I actually didn't even think about that. I might try that too. Like, that's actually kind of cool. Actually, I might probably do that too. See, like, that's the one thing I feel like college actually like has a really good benefit from. You can leverage them so well. It's a whole group of people that are your audience. So just figure out what they need and just provide them. You can literally make so much money off of them. It's crazy because they're getting paid by their parents. They're getting paid from a job, something. So they have to have money because otherwise they can't really do anything. So it's no reason not to have money in college, in my opinion.
No, that's well said, and I definitely want to go into detail. You know, your type of trading is more in terms of day trading, but there's different type of trading: swing trading, elite trading.
Yes.
So I want you to, I guess, break down each one and why you decide to stick with day trading compared to doing swings or elite. And just so you can go like that.
Yeah. So to be honest, I like day trading because it kind of just fits me a little bit better. But I started with swing trading. Like, the first thing I did was I started with swing trading, and then I transitioned into day trading. Once I actually had the 2,000, I started transitioning into day trading. And then also, I just like day trading because it sounds cooler. Like, it's like I can make 1,000 in a day rather than making like 2,000 in 2 weeks. It just sounds better, So I was like, all right, cool. I can just day trade, and also it's just like kind of waking up. It keeps me consistent too. It keeps me disciplined because like with swing trading, I could just get something and buy it, and then I'm waiting like days, weeks, months, depending. And it also depends on how much money I have. So, for example, if I put 1,000 into a swing trade, and let's say I get a 200% return, then I'm probably making like I probably make $2,000 profit on that trade, right? Off of maybe a month or two. But I could day trade and probably turn that, because remember I took a month to turn 1,000 into 10,000 because
Mm-hmm.
I'm disciplined, I'm consistent, and my strategy works. So it doesn't really. So the more money you have, typically, the more money you have and the more patience you have, the better. Because I'm not really that patient. Like you could tell I'm just not like really like a patient person. Where it's I'm like I'm diligent, but I'm not really like patient with certain things. I'm not patient with myself. I'm not really patient with how I grow. I'm just not. So it doesn't really fit me that well. But I know once I get a certain amount of money in my account, it's like, okay, bet swing trading is easy. I could just put this into here, 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 and then I could just do swings here, and then I can literally just put money instead of me saving money. I could put my money into swing trades, and then from there, that's just another. I feel like swing trading is a way for me to properly save my money, like properly put my money aside where I don't have to touch it, but it still is growing. That's what I see it as.
That's well said. And I guess I want to ask this, because statistically, just to bring the numbers into the game, most traders, if I'm not mistaken, about 97% or very close to that, they don't make money, they lose money.
Yeah.
And I guess, just to put in perspective for everyone, I want to ask you, what makes a successful trader? Like, what are certain things that you do that helps you be consistent over time to make profit? Um, so let me ask that first. Yeah, what are certain things that you do that helps you be consistent and making profits week to week out?
So there's a just a small group of things that you need. You need to have you need to have patience, you need to have discipline, and you need to have emotional control. If you do not have emotional control, you will fail. And there's four things typically that cause people not to have emotional control. And that's fear, it's arrogance, cockiness, and greed. So those four things usually kill people. So emotions usually dictate majority of everything when it comes to the options. There's usually for let's make it super simple. It's two things. Two things, that's it. Your strategy and your emotional intelligence. That's it. That's literally all it is. So your strategy. Your strategy is your risk management. How are you protecting your account? How are you making money? When do you enter? When do you exit? When do you scale out? When do you scale in? When do you do anything? Like, because with businesses, there's SOPs for your business. Your
Yeah.
strategy is SOPs for how do you make money? How do you trade? That's basically what I like to look at it as. And if you don't have those SOPs in place, it's going to be very hard for you to scale your business or very hard for you to scale your account in terms of trading, right? So your strategy that's the important thing. The next thing is emotional intelligence. Like I said, fear, greed, arrogance, and cockiness. Those are typically the biggest things that go down. I'll talk about greed first. If somebody's greedy, let's say they put $1,000 into a trade and they up 50%, they up $500, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they're like, dang, I just made a lot of money right now. I could probably make 150. I could probably make 200. I could probably make 300. And they start getting greedy and they hold the trade longer than what it actually could make. And they start ignoring what's actually happening because they're letting their emotions take over. It's a positive emotion because I can make more, I can have more, I can be abundant, that type of mindset. But again, it's also a negative one because it can negatively affect your account because it's an emotion. And emotion isn't like a concrete way of assessing your trading strategy. So that's greed. Arrogance is, I know this is what my strategy said to do, but I'm not going to do it anyway. I'm just going to do what I want to do. So, I had that problem, starting out. I kind of had that problem a little bit starting out. But then what I realized is, okay, I can make my strategy. I can make it fit me. So it's not like I have to listen to somebody else's. I created my own. So now it's basically my way of ironing the clothes. So you said iron the clothes this way? No, I'm gonna do it this way. And I just created it to make sure that it fits me. So if it fits me and it protects me, but it also allows me to make money, it's perfect. So I'm just gonna now my thing is I have to listen to the strategy. If I don't listen to it, I'm gonna fail. So I make it super simple. I have a strategy that works. If I don't listen to the strategy, I'll probably lose money. If I listen to the strategy, I'll make money. It's as simple as that. So all I got to
Right.
do is what? Listen to the strategy. I make it super simple. And then so the last two, the emotions is cockiness. So let's say you won 5 times in a row, and now it's like, oh, I'm on fire right now. Bet this next trade about to be a winner. That's cockiness. You don't. Every trade has a 50% outcome of working, 50-50, because either it wins or it loses. Either you make money on the trade or you lose money. It's just, or break even. Like, it's that simple. It's 50-50. It's never, oh, it's an 80% chance that it's going to do this. No, you don't know what's going to happen. The market can do anything. The market be doing some ridiculous stuff. It be doing backflips, somersaults, and triple flips and all that stuff. And you don't know that. You can't predict it.
Right.
All you can do is just see what's happening and take advantage of it. That's it. So I know that it's a 50% chance that this is going to happen. So that means I have to manage my risk the same exact way. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to put all my money into this. I'm going to put some money into this, into this, into this, into this. Whatever makes more money is cool. It don't matter because I know every single one of them is a 50% chance and a 50% probability. So cockiness is bad because it obscures your perspective. The last thing, my favorite, fear. Most people are fearful of losing money. So, for example, they enter a trade and they're losing like a little bit of money, and it's like, oh, I don't know, it's going against me, and they sell. The strategy didn't tell them to sell; their emotion did. So now they sell, and then let's say the market goes back up again, and now they lost out on a couple $1,000 because they sold too early, and now they're like, dang, the market sucks. I don't like this. I quit. Then you got people that's fearful of missing out. So let's say GameStop or AMC, those things, they kind of shot up crazy, and it's like, dang, I need to get in, and they'll get in, and then the market took a huge dip again, and then it just sells off, and they're like, dang, I got in, but then they got it at the top and not got it at the bottom, so now they think they're missing out, and then they enter off of fear of missing out, and they might lose money, or they might not be able to sell their position, or they might not be able to see that type of thing. So fear of missing out, that kills people. So it's like, dang, I missed out on all this money. Dang, I hate trading. I quit. And then you got fear of losing profits. So for example, you might be entering a trade and you might be up a little bit of money, but it's not moving fast enough for you. So it's like, dang, I think it's about the reverse. I'm gonna sell. Nothing told you to sell. Nothing told you. And now the market's slowly going up, and then it just spikes up crazy. You would have been up 100%, 120%, 30, 300%, all that. But you sold too early. Now you're like, dang, I lost out on all this money right now. I could have made this man, screw trading. I don't like it. I quit. It's so many. And then it's like, and it's so, and this is my favorite one because most people they hate this. So fear of being wrong. That's my favorite one. Most people, like, you can agree with me. Most people don't like being wrong. I don't like being wrong. You don't like being wrong. No one likes to be wrong. It sucks. Like, why would you want to be wrong? So you're saying, so this is what kills people. There's two things. So if you get into, let's say you're looking at the market, you're setting it up, everything's set up perfectly. So now you can enter the trade. Your strategy told you can enter the trade, and you don't enter the trade because, well, I think it looked good, but I don't want to be wrong, so I'm not going to enter the trade. So now, even though you're right, even though you could have made money, it's like, I don't want to be wrong. So now you're just looking at the market and you're just spectating, and now you're like, oh, I could have made this much money on this trade. All right, cool. Well, next time I'm gonna get in the trade. The next time comes, and you're like, dang, this is set up perfectly, just like last time. I'm not gonna get into it because I don't want to be wrong. And then you miss out on more money because you don't want to be wrong. Or, this is why people blow accounts right here. They'll get in the trade, and then it starts pulling back 10%, 15%, and it's like, nah, it's gonna go back up. It's okay. I'm right. I'm right on this trade. It's gonna go back up. And then it's down 30%, 40%. All right, it's about to hit It's about to hit this bottom, and then it's gonna bounce back up. All right, it's down 50%, 60%. No, I'm gonna give it a little bit more time. I think it's about to hit this bottom right here. I think it's gonna bounce off here, and then it's gonna go back up, and then it's gonna make me money. Then they're down 70%, and it's like, I'll sell it. They sell it right there for a 70% loss, and then what are they gonna do? They're gonna blame it on the market. They're gonna blame it on everybody but themselves, and then they're gonna quit. and then they're gonna say this is not for me. But all they did was they were fearful of being wrong, they were fearful of making money, fearful of losing money, they were greedy, arrogant, or cocky. And that's usually what causes people to lose. So now this is actually why I'm a pretty good teacher. So now I'll give people a strategy and I'll have them test it out first. If they can make money with their strategy, if they can turn 1,000 into 5,000, 1,000 into 10,000, and they can do it paper trading, all right, cool. Get on your live account. When they get on their live account, if they can't turn 1,000 into 10,000 or 1,000 into 5,000, or they turn 1,000 and they start losing money, I know why. Because if you can paper trade with the same strategy, see, the thing about paper trading, there's no emotion tied to it because you're not trading with your own money. So all you're
That's
doing is
true.
trading with your strategy. So if you're trading with your strategy and you can do it well, but then you go into your live account where emotions are affected, now I know, okay, your emotions are affected. So let's go over how are you thinking during your trade? Oh, I see right here, you jumped in because you were fear of missing out. You were fearful of missing out on the move. So you got in while it was going up and then it reversed against you. Now I know how to fix it. So now I can just give them whatever emotion like I just listed and I know what
Mm-hmm.
they're dealing with. Because I can if it's a strategies problem, we can fix that in the beginning. But if it's working and then we go into your live account and it doesn't work, that's because of you and that's because of your emotions. So now we can just tap, but now we know what to tackle. Now we know what's the problem. Now we can fix it and now we can assess that problem and now we can actually fix the problem and you can actually learn. And that's kind of how I like to teach it.
No, that's definitely well said. I could definitely attest, especially in regards to the fear. Like fear does play a big role why people lose money. In the stock market, not even on the stock market, just in business and real estate or any kind of investment, which is important to have that part of your emotions set. Um, and that leads me to my next question. Just like with everything, there's ups and there's downs. Um, with the whole entrepreneurship journey is not straightforward. It's not straight line up like I stated earlier. So I'm
Yeah.
asking, how has your faith in God, help you through this process? I'm sure there's days where we have lost a tremendous amount of money, or your trade went wrong. How has your faith in God help you, stay consistent, still trust this process?
Because I know that he's going to, and that's another reason I don't mind doing things my way because I know that he's guiding my footsteps anyway. So I know that even if it doesn't work out, it's gonna be okay in the end. Because most people they're so focused on, like matter of fact, I was reading about this too in the Bible. It was dang it, it was I think it was the Israelites, and they were
Hmm.
free. They were freed, and God said that they were going to the promised land, I believe. And
Hmm.
then as they were going to the promised land, they were complaining the entire time. They were like, dang, I want the water. The food is bad and this is so long and it's taking too long and stuff like that. And then God basically said, trip canceled and you're not going to the promised land, basically. And then they died in the desert. So I kind of look at life like that. I mean, it's going to be hard, it's going to suck, and it's going to be painful. But the whole point is just to not to complain, just to take it, deal with it, and eventually you're going to make it to the promised land because that's kind of what God has for you. So God freed me from high school and he freed me from my parents' house. So now I'm going through this journey of getting to the promised land, but now I got to deal with bad water, bad food, bad all this. So it's like, okay, well, it beats going back there and being staying in jail or stayed in this place where I can't grow or blossom. So now I just got to take these small little hardships, and then eventually I'll just make it to the promised land.
That's well said. That is well said. And that leads me to ask, what has been the most challenging thing for you being an entrepreneur?
Um, Living up to everybody else's expectations and living up to my expectations. So that's probably been the biggest thing because it's like now people see me, they're like, you're 18, 19, you're doing this. Oh my God, you're doing so well. This is amazing. You're doing great. Like all this. And even though I'm failing, like even though I lost a lot of money that day, they're like, yo, you're doing fantastic. So it's kind of like smiling through that kind of like praise because they don't really understand. They're
Yeah.
celebrating me because of my age, but again, I'm still an entrepreneur. Like it's still not. easy. Like the fact that I don't like certain times, it's like, dang, I wish I had a job because it's like this is up and down. Like I lost money this week. I lost like the most I ever lost was like 10,000 in a week. I feel like that's the
Wow.
most I ever lost. And after that, I'm like, dang, this kind of sucks. I mean, I wish I had some. There was some like some type of stability, but then again, that's just that's the price you gotta pay with entrepreneurship. It's up and down. It's never like a consistent thing of you're gonna make this much this month. No, you're sometimes you're not. Sometimes it's gonna be up and down. Sometimes it's gonna be slow. But again, I'm willing to take it because I know it's gonna pay off in the end.
That's well said. That's well said. And how important is to run your race? I'm glad that you mentioned that. Oftentimes, when you interact with people, they look at your age first, and they don't really take time to understand the whole process. And you deal with their pressure, like, oh, Sean about to do this, you about the next six figure, or your parents and everybody come at you
Mm.
with different expectation. You have your expectation. How important like is for someone who's listening to this podcast to run their race and not get so consumed by everyone's different opinion of what they should do and how they should do it.
So I um look at it like you're running track. There's 10 people on the line or 8 people. Let's say you're running against 8 people. All 8 people are not going to win.
Mm,
So the reason that one of those people is going to win that race or coming first, coming second, coming third, it's not based on what he sees everybody else doing. It's about how he executes. So if you're looking sideways, you're not going forward. If you're looking
mm,
forward, you're going forward. Like if you're I look at it like this. If you're looking sideways, you're not going forward fast enough. Or if you're looking forward, you're not going sideways or you're not focusing on what's going on around you. So don't worry about the other runners that are next to you. Worry about making sure you put one foot in front of the other because it's so hard. And again, it's so hard because literally every time you go on social media, every time you see YouTube, everybody sees people, it's like, dang, they're doing so well. But they could be doing something else. They could be struggling. They could be doing something you're not doing. They could be putting in
mm,
some type of work that you're not putting in. So it all just comes down to like, what are you doing? What are you doing that somebody else isn't? How much energy are you putting in that someone else isn't? And most people they don't really focus on that, but that'll literally save you. Because if you focus on being the best person that you can be, that's all that matters. Like that's all that really matters. Because you can't really be anybody else. I can't be you. I can't be Barack Obama. I'm a Sean. So I'm CEO of Sean. That's all I can be. So I have to wake up and say, how can I be the best me that I possibly can be? Because, for example, Mary can't be Jesus. Adam, like Adam can't be Eve. Eve can't be Adam. So why? So be the best person that you can be. It doesn't stop trying to be everybody else because God created you as you. So
mm.
you can't be anybody else, even if you try. So
That's
you
well
might as
said.
well just be yourself.
Now that is well said. That is definitely well said. And before you wrap it up, I just definitely want to get your thoughts on the current market situation and just your perspective on the market.
So the market's doing some weird stuff right now. Right now, it's kind of in a period where, well, currently right now, there's a lot of bull activity right now, like bullish as in market's going up like a lot right now. Like a lot of people are buying right now. But because of this thing with Russia and these wars and all these political things, agendas, things on these people's agendas, and also interest rates increasing too, um, it's definitely a lot of stuff that's going to happen. So it's going to be a little up and down. It's not just going to be like we're going up to the promised land yet. I feel like there's still going to be a possible recession that comes, depending on what happens with this war, depending on what happens with interest rates, depending on what happens with how much money we actually have in the United States as a whole. So there could be some things that happen, but what I'm doing is I'm waiting patiently because right now the market's kind of being sideways right now. Sometimes it's down, sometimes it's up. So now I'm just waiting and preparing myself for it to pull down. And once that actually happens, then I'm just going to take advantage of that and buy those dips and get some swings in. But if we do go into a recession, that'll probably last for maybe maybe a year or two, maybe longer actually, depending on how big it is. Because this war could actually make a lot of changes happen, especially on the. And I also say this too: if China, if Russia takes over Ukraine, and China looks at that and says, "Bet we have the balls now to go take over Taiwan." If
Mm.
China takes over Taiwan, the American economy is probably going to be screwed. And that's probably where the recession is going to start, because Taiwan is the main manufacturer for chips and our like all the chips that we have in like our new cars and Teslas and the electric cars and our phones and our computers, all that. So some of these big companies that are relying on that, China will be a monopoly for that now. So now that's probably going to put us in a bad position depending on what they do. So if that happens, get your seatbelt on, make sure your roller coaster strap is tight. This recession is going to be a little heavy, and you better make sure. That's why I said I'm going to be cash heavy. I'm going to try to get as much credit as possible, as many loans as possible, and get as much money I can possibly get, because I need to buy these dips. I need to get these swings. I need to get these leaps. I need to day trade these, like get these puts in. Like I need to start trading this stuff, because once that thing happens, that actually what determines what if a trader is actually good or not. They can actually trade in that recession. So I haven't traded in a recession yet, so I'm kind of hoping on that. So I'm like, yeah, we need to make some money now, but that's my outlook. That's my outlook.
No, that's well said. Definitely. Thank you for your outlook on that. And I guess it leads me to my last question. Where do you see yourself in the next 5, 10 years? As a trader, as a person, um, a business owner. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
Good question. So in the next 5 to 10 years, in the next 5 years, I'm gonna be. I'm probably gonna be touching 100,000 a day, trading maybe a million a day, if I'm that greedy. Um, I'm gonna be financially independent. No, my bad. Financially free at that point. 5 to 10 years, I'll be financially free. And there's a difference. Financially independent is you're not dependent on a job or somebody else, so you're dependent only on yourself to make money. Financially free is I'm financially able to do whatever I want. So five
Mm.
to 10 years, that's where I'll be. I'll have retired my parents by then. I'll have the network, the family, and life that I want for myself. And I'll probably be getting into the stage where I'm starting to look to start a family. Because what I'm gonna do is probably live my life in my 20s. And then once I'm like 28, 29, 30, that's when I'm gonna have my kid, because that's when I'm pretty much gonna be slowing down and be done. So that way, when I actually have him, I'll be prepared. Like I'll be able to properly be there for him or her. I want it to be a him, but if it's a her, I'll deal with it. But I want a him though. I want a him. I didn't, because I don't know why I can, because with my daughter I can't like spank my daughter. I can't really discipline her like I want to. My son, I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want to him. That's fine. I could just, yeah. So I want a son, but yeah. So in 5 to 10 years, that's where I'll be.
Oh man. Well said. Well said. Well said. For those who are listening, I hope you guys definitely took away a few gems, a few nuggets. From Ashon Bennett. Just like always, just don't listen to these podcasts. Don't listen to these interviews. Actually take action. He's taking action at this age of his time, and it's interesting. Just speaking to you, just remind me a TikTok or a reel that I did recently. Oftentimes, and this is important, oftentimes people think we have time,
Mm,
but sometimes we don't have time. And it's funny, my pastor once said it once. He said that, you being 19 and God only gave you 30 years, or 22, and God only gave you 30 years, you're old. Oftentimes you think old is being 65, old is being 70, but what if God didn't grant you that time? And it's important to use the time that God did grant you and take action. You know, People, when you look at the most talented people, you look for the most gifted people. Most of them you find in the graveyard and they never use the time that they had. And it's a point while we still have life, while we still have breath in our lungs, to use this time, take advantage of the opportunity, and let's make it to a promised land. If you guys haven't yet, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Welcome Christ YouTube channel, and stay tuned for next week's episode. And also, I have a free study guide on my website, wealthinchristbrand.com, which will show you how you can get started in the stock market completely for free. And you can go there and get it for free. And I'll see you guys next week. And thank you again, Mr. Ashon Bennett.
Thank you. I appreciate it.